Ladies and gentlemen, it is now actually 7:02 p.m., so the budget hearing and annual meeting of the School District of New Berlin is hereby called to order. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance. For all those who are able, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we will have a moment of silence. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public by posting the agenda at each district school, the district office, and the city library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. Additionally, per state statute, notices were published in the Waukesha Freeman on September 14th and 22nd. Copies of the agenda were forwarded to the Waukesha Freeman, the Journal Sentinel, which have filed requests for all public notices. I'll just start off by introducing this evening. We have board members with us, myself, President Janet Schultz, and then we also have Mitch Helmer, our Vice President, Jeffrey Kurth, the Clerk, Ron Seidel, Treasurer, Amy Crosby, Renee Connick. Members are not able to be here this evening, and we have Allison Spindler, our other member of the board. We also have our legal counsel with us, Andrew Phillips from Atolis Law, and we have staff members here this evening. We have Kelly Sanders and Patrick Miller, who will present the 2023-24 proposed budget. So we will now begin with the proposed budget presentation.
So once again, I'm Dr. Kelly Sanders. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for the school district here. So thank you very much for being here this evening. We just wanted to kind of go over a few of our highlights over the last year. We have had many, but as you all should know already, that we are one of 13 K-12 public education institutions in the state of Wisconsin that rank as significantly exceeds our state's expectations, and we're very proud of our students, our staff, and our families, and our entire community for that. We are proud of our class of 2023 who earned $3.5 million worth of scholarships this past year. And as you know, we have been lucky to win multiple state championships: Eisenhower boys soccer, chess, dance, cross country, tennis, and at West we have academic decathlon, shot put, and cheer, and many other accolades that we are exceptionally proud of. One of the accolades that we are exceptionally proud of is that we have the State Teacher of the Year in Sagar Homa Yumpur, who I was lucky enough to be at the Capitol with this past week when she was awarded and spoken about and celebrated. We have 6 Herb Cole Award winners, and we have the Physical Education Teacher of the Year at Elmwood, and that's Melanie Gearhart. So we're very proud of the work that they have all done. Some other highlights are that we have been very, very active in the state in our work around literacy, and we have led the charge for the new state literacy law, which we're proud of our administrators and our staff for being a part of that. Our Education Foundation continues to just be a stellar partner with us by not only helping us with our Star Commons at Orchard Lane. They have awarded $15,000 in scholarships and $16,000 in teacher grants across the district, which we're very, very proud of. They also hosted the Toast to Education, which was a great event. Was able to participate, which was fun. We also have had some real growth in our Fund 41, which I know that Patrick has spoken about before. We've also had some growth in our naming rights, which we're really happy about how our community has stepped up to sponsor a lot of different things in our community, in our school district. For instance, some of our sponsors this past year are Horicon Bank, C&M Fencing, and Optimum Crush, who gave us a scoreboard donation. We also launched the Westpac Concert Series, and there will also be 6 shows this year as well. So Pat's going to come up and cover our annual budget, a high-level summary, our tax levy, a little bit about our detachment update for West Dallas, West Milwaukee, some projected financial future, and then we will go into public comment. So I'll turn it over to Pat.
Thank you, Dr. Sanders. Good evening. Good to see all of you here tonight, and I appreciate you coming out for the annual meeting and budget hearing. Very important meeting that we have every year, and I'm so very proud to be the CFO for the school district in New Berlin and be able to share this good news with you tonight. What you're going to hear tonight, as I have done now 4 times, I'm beginning my 5th full year in the district. This is going to be a high-level summary of the general fund budget. More of the detailed budget can be found in the budget publication booklet that looks like this. I believe there's some hard copies of this in the back, and you can also find that on our district website. You can also pick up a hard copy of that in the foyer of the district office as well. I would like to start off tonight by introducing a very important person in the business office, Crystal Reed. Crystal, would you please stand up so all these people can see who you are? Crystal is my comptroller, which is accounting speak for a finance manager. Crystal and I work together on developing the budget, maintaining the budget, and reporting the budget at the end of the fiscal year. So a lot of the things that you're going to see in this budget are a direct result of the hard work that Crystal puts in. I would also be remiss in not acknowledging the district administrators that are in the room, Brady Ranke, Kelly Kwiatkowski, and Dr. Sanders. Also Andy Stefanson, the Building and Grounds Director. These are people who help me keep the budget in check. I've worked in a lot of schools in the last 33 years, and this is the best staff that I've ever worked with, that spends money when it needs to be spent. They don't just spend it because they have it, they spend it because they need it. And that's how we can manage our budget and manage to stay under budget as often as we do. I said this is going to focus primarily on the general fund. The rest of the budget you'll be able to find in the booklet, and the Board of Education will be approving that full budget in the last meeting in October, as more of the details that go into that budget are going to be learned on the 1st of October and the 15th of October. So first of all, just some notes, notable things in the budget. These are things that have had a significant impact on the budget that I am proposing. ESSER 3, we are nearing the end of it. We have about approximately $1.6 million in ESSER reimbursements that are ready to be claimed. You may ask why we're not claiming those. It's because the money that we are receiving in ESSER reimbursements are dollars that we have already spent in the district. And so I can use these reimbursements to strategically manage the budget going forward. We have until September of 2024 to claim those funds. The Capital Project Fund, Dr. Sanders mentioned Fund 41. I'm recommending that we levy $2,225,000 into our Capital Improvement Fund. This is the fund that we use to manage our fully funded capital maintenance plan. Fund balance. We had a significant increase in fund balance for fiscal 23. A little over $3 million of that was planned. If you go back in May of 22, or March of 22, we prepaid some debt out of fund balance, and I used some reimbursements that we had this last year to put that money back into the general fund. And then we had just a little under 2 million, like 1.7 million, I rounded to 2 million, in a combination of higher revenues than expected and lower expenses than expected. I am projecting a slight decrease in fund balance this year. We do have a couple of maintenance items that we're going to move forward, and we're planning, at least at this point in time, to take at least one of them out of our fund balance. Some other budget notables. We received a 41%, push the wrong button here, we received a 41% increase in state general aid for fiscal '24. This is the second 40+% increase in the last 3 years. And just a note, our state aid since I got here has increased 300+%. We were, when I came, my first year here, we were at 3.9 million, and this year we're going to be over 13 million in state aid. Some of that is being in the right place at the right time, but there is a large component of that that also is knowing how to manage the budget to make sure that when the stars are starting to align, you make sure the rest of them align and you get those higher aid payments. At this point in time, if we, you can only lose 15% a year in state aid. If we were to lose 15% a year every year, it would take us probably the next 9 years before we would be back at the level we were in 2019, 2020. So that's good news for the taxpayers. Declining enrollment exemption is one of the exemptions we get in our revenue limit. It's falling, and that's a good thing because it means that our enrollment is rising. We had a large enrollment decline in 2022, and that this is the last year that enrollment reduction impacts our revenue limit. We have stabilized and we are gaining enrollment slightly, so that's a good thing. We also received a $1.5 million energy exemption for some energy projects completed in 2013, 15, and 17. We'll qualify for this exemption for another 5 years until those bonds are paid off. Some of the revenue assumptions then, we planned a reduction in the federal funding of ESSER reimbursements. We were given a $325 increase per pupil on the revenue limit. We did have, even though our enrollment is going up, we planned for the reduction of 8 FTE in a 3-year rolling average. Again, remember that large reduction. Right now, we are feeling all 3 years of that reduction. So, but this should be the last year for that, and things are turning around. We increased 4 new open enrollment students because of our open enrollment policy where siblings are guaranteed a seat. Even though we didn't have any seats open, because of that policy, we increased by 4. So the 41% increase in state aid. And right now, an estimated 10.5% increase in equalized property value, which is incredible. This is a graphical representation of where our revenue comes from. You can see that the lion's share of it comes from local, and then about a third of it comes from the state. Expenditure assumptions, and again, these are all expenditures that are in that booklet, but these are some highlights. We had a 0% increase in our health-related expenses. Changes that the district put into place in years past are paying huge dividends with regards to our insurance, health insurance programs in the district. I do believe that we are going to be putting in some increases, small incremental increases in the future, just simply because inflation will continue to happen, and at some point in time, Inflation is going to catch up with our current funding level for that. And I know some districts that have gone too many years with a 0% increase and then all of a sudden jump to a double-digit increase. And I don't want that surprise to happen to the district. We did plan some additional facilities upgrades. We did an additional one-to-one student device purchase. If you remember in COVID where we increased the number of grades that were covered with one-to-one devices, and we have those all on a rotation. If we would have just kept those in that rotation every 3 years, we would have this, essentially double the expense. And so what we're doing is we're smoothing that out just for better budget planning. We have a little fund balance expense for facilities. Our transportation budget did go up because of contracted agreements. And then we did have a property increase, property value increase. That was planned as we were bringing our property valuations up to 100%. And then a pie graph for the expenses. If you notice, salary and benefits are around 60% of our budget. Our purchase services look perhaps a little higher than some districts, but understand there are two key employee groups that are actually contracted services. We contract for all of our substitute teachers, and we also contract for our second shift cleaners. So if we were actually had those in-house, that would shift to salaries and benefits, and it would certainly raise that 60%. The tax levy for 23-24, and here's where some great news comes to the residents of New Berlin. The 22-23 tax levy was $44.7 million. The proposed levy for this year is $41 million. That's a $3.6 million reduction and a change of 8.18%. Now, I want to make it clear, because our levy is dropping, that doesn't mean that we're getting less funding, or we're funding at a lower level for our education of our students. That's not true. This reduction comes at the behest of the state aid, which gives us $3.6 million in an increase. So we are levying as much as we can levy for property taxes. It's just because state aid is going up, our property taxes are falling. The rate for last year was 6.89 or $6.89 a thousand, and we are projecting our mill rate to be $5.72 a thousand. So on a $300,000 home in New Berlin, you will be paying about $350 less in school taxes. This graph is also in the booklet, and what it shows is the property tax, the value, the change, the tax levy, and the change, and how that rate has changed since 2014, 2015. There are a lot of negative numbers up there in the changes. And 12 out of 13 years, our mill rate has gone down more than the rate of inflation. The breakdown of our tax levy this year is as follows: $34,416,574 for general operations, that's Fund 10. 3.617 for non-referendum debt, that's Fund 38. $2,225,000 for capital expenditures, that's levy into Fund 41. $800,000 for community services. Those are community-based programs and activities, for a total of $41,059,202 total tax to be levied on all real property in the city of New Berlin. I also wanted to give a little update, or a short update, on what's going on with the West Allis, West Milwaukee detachment. This does have an impact on our finances, as the properties that are included in that detachment are now coded to the school district of New Berlin. And so part of our 10.5% increase in property values is because we are getting an additional 160 properties from that detachment. Some of you that have been on the board for many years, Jeff, you'll remember this has been going on for decades, that there has been a detachment petition filed by residents of New Berlin, but they are in the West Allis, West Milwaukee School District, that small little rectangle up in the northeast corner of the city. In February, a petition group filed, and it was denied by West Allis, West Milwaukee. They petitioned to the Department of Public Instruction Boundary Appeal Board. And in the spring of 2023, DPI approved their appeal. That is where most of the petitions in the last few decades have stopped. They have not made it through DPI. This one did. And so as of July 1st, 2023, the 160 parcels have been part of the School District of New Berlin for the purpose of equalized value. And we currently have 16 students from that detachment that are new students in the School District of New Berlin in Orchard Lane Elementary and Eisenhower Middle and High School. West Allis, West Milwaukee has appealed that decision by Department of Public Instruction, and it currently is in the process of being transferred from Milwaukee County to Waukesha County. It was filed an error in the Milwaukee County, and so we're just in the process of getting that case transferred. We will continue, as we have from the start, to work with the new families through this change. My primary concern is those children, and I want to make sure that they can go to school where they want to go to school. And my office is willing to, is at the ready to help them go to be in whatever school district they want. As more information comes out for this, we will make that available to the board and ergo to the community through those board communications. Our financial future. In 2023, as I said, we had a large fund balance increase. Most of that was planned, $5.7 million. We are projecting a $500,000 decrease in fund balance this year. And in 2025, we are confident that we'll be able to propose a balanced budget. Remember, this year, fiscal 24 is the first year in the state biennium. And so we will go into next year knowing what we're going to get on our revenue limit worksheet as far as per pupil aid and revenue limits. And at that point in time, or at this point in time, my presentation is over, and so I will turn this mammoth thing around, and if there is anybody that has any questions. Oh, yeah, I forgot all about those. I also want to mention two important things. Dr. Sanders talked about them, I believe, but mark your calendars for October 14th. That is the International Heritage Festival. And I believe we're also going to be celebrating Discover New Berlin at that same time. So that's going to be at in the New Berlin West parking lot. And we're very proud to expand our community concert series from 2 concerts last year to 6 concerts, starting in November, and the 3rd of November. Musical comedian Pat McCurdy, and we will be going through May 17th with an acoustic 90s alternative rock. So we've got lots of fun concerts planned and a nice mix. If you notice, we have a Christmas concert, a country Christmas concert, followed by the tenors of MKE, or Milwaukee, and that's going to be another Christmas concert that we're hosting. So hope you all can join us for those concerts, and I'm going to flip this mic around, and if anybody has any questions, they can come on up. If there are no questions, you don't have to ask a question because you feel like you have to, only if you have a question. But if there are none, then I am going to turn this meeting back over to our board president.
We'll now adjourn to the annual meeting. The annual meeting of the School District of New Berlin is hereby called to order. All residents wishing to vote during tonight's meeting must have registered in the Commons lobby and received a voting card along with an annual meeting packet. Suggested nominations are included in the packet. When making a nomination, please state your name and address. When voting, please raise your voting card high and keep it raised until the vote has been determined. I will now accept nominations for a chairperson to conduct this annual meeting of the electors of the School District of New Berlin. Do I have a nomination?
Sibilance. I, Jeffrey Kurth, 4085 South Adele Avenue in New Berlin, would like to nominate Janet Schultz as the chairperson for the annual meeting of New Berlin.
No seconds needed, but thank you. Do I have any other nominations for chairperson? Do I have any other nominations for chairperson? Do I have any other nominations for chairperson? With there being no other nominations from the floor, myself, Janet Schultz, was elected permanent chairperson. The next item on the agenda is approval of the rules of order and agenda. The printed agenda is recommended by the New Berlin School Board and complies with the duties and responsibilities of the annual meeting for which action is deemed necessary. Do I have a motion?
I, Mitchell Helmer of 6229 South Thompson Hollow Court, move to approve the rules of order and the agenda as printed.
Do I have a second? A second. I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, a second by Mr. Kurth to approve the rules of order and agenda as printed. Is there any discussion? Then all those in favor of the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. And all opposed to the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. By a show of hands, the motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the appointment of parliamentarian by chairperson. I appoint Andrew Phillips, the district's legal counsel, as parliamentarian. Then the next item is the treasurer's report. Since the electors have printed copy of this report, do I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the treasurer's report and recommend its approval as presented in the printed copy?
I, Allison Spindler of 5010 South DeSoto Court, New Berlin, move to dispense with reading of the Treasury report and recommend its approval as presented.
I have a motion by Ms. Spindler and a second by Mr. Seidel to dispense with the reading of the treasurer's report and approve the report as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. Take them down. Then all those opposed to the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. By a show of hands, the motion carries. Next item is a resolution to adopt a tax levy for the 2023-2024 school year. Do I have a motion?
I, Ronald Seidel of 17631 West Westward Drive, move to levy a tax in the amount of $41,059,202, including $2,225,000 for capital expansion projects on all property, real and personal, within the bounds of the School District of New Berlin, City of New Berlin, Wisconsin, for the purpose of operating public schools, including the maintenance of buildings and sites and discharge of debt.
I have a motion by Mr. Seidel, a second by Mr. Kurth, to levy a tax in the amount of $41,059,202, including $2,225,000 for capital expansion projects on all property, real and personal, within the bounds of the School District of New Berlin, City of New Berlin, Wisconsin, for the purpose of operating the public schools, including the maintenance of buildings and sites and discharging of debt. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. Then all those opposed to the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. By show of hands, the motion carries. Next is setting a date for the 2024 annual meeting. Do I have a motion?
Jeffrey Kurth, 4085 South Adele Avenue, New Berlin, Wisconsin. I motioned to authorize the School District of New Berlin to establish a date for the 2024 annual meeting between the dates of May 15th and October 31st, 2024.
Have a second? I have a motion by Mr. Kurth and a second by Mr. Helmer to authorize the school board of the School District of New Berlin to establish the date of the 2024 annual meeting between the dates of May 15th and October 31st, 2024. Is there any discussion? Then all those in favor, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. All those opposed to the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. By show of hands, the motion carries. Next is setting the school board members' annual salaries. Do I have a motion?
I, Ronald Seidel, 17631 Westward Drive, move to set the annual salaries of school board members at $3,500, school board president at $5,000, and school board vice president at $4,500.
Have a second? I have a motion by Mr. Seidel and second by Mr. Kurth to set the annual salaries of school board members at $3,500 for school board members, school board president at $5,000, and school board vice president at $4,500. Is there any discussion? And all those in favor of the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. And all those opposed? Motion, by a show of hands, the motion carries. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I, Mitch Helmer of 6229 South Thompson Hollow Court, move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, a second by Mr. Kurth to adjourn. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please raise your voting card and leave it raised. All those opposed? By show of hands, the motion carries, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.